Hey everybody, welcome. I just wanted to make I'm not going to say quick, but a relatively short video compared to the ones that I normally do. This is just I got a question just the other day about some issues one of my subscribers, hopefully a subscriber, but one of the folks that was watching my video was having with the mod list. And so I wanted to really quick jump in and show how I handle issues with Modlist and the things that I look for. Now, as you can see, this is a relatively well, you can't see the mod list, but this mod list is Horizon, and it's one of the smallest mod lists for Fallout in Wabbajack. And then right now, what I've done is I've just loaded it up to just test it and see exactly what's going on here. Now I'm gonna hit the continue. I don't know that I've actually played for 30 hours, and you can see it's telling me all these things are not here. That tells me one thing, right? The save that is hitting is not really the save for this one. I don't think either one of these are actually the save created for this mod list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, and I'm just going to say, you know what? We're just going to start a new mod list on survival, and then we're going to see if this actually loads. Now, the reason I'm pointing this one out is because I've been having trouble with this, and partly I believe it's my fault, and it's the things that I've done that have caused issues with this mod list. And one of the things that I did, and we'll see a video come out soon, is I just decided, here's all the mods that I want to add to this list, and just immediately added them. Didn't go in and see if the list was working, didn't go in and double checked anything like that. I just said, okay, I'm going to blindly add my mods, and we're going to put it right there. And now I'm expecting it to truly work the way it's supposed to. Now, a couple of things are going on here. Now, with this list, one of the things that it doesn't do that I really appreciate Wabbajack does, and this is where I got tricky and may have overstepped and basically set it up incorrectly. Some lists will take and create a copy of the game folder, and it will go into that file folder for that list, and then it will use that stock game copy to do all of its modifications to, and then it will create a virtual instance of the game, and that's what you're playing on. Some lists, especially the very small ones, don't necessarily do that. And when they don't do that, that means they're actually using the game folder. But since it's a virtual instance, any mod that it's loading to the game is happening virtually, and it isn't actually happening in the folder itself, in the game file itself, except for one thing. Mods that add scripts, textures, meshes, things like that, they do get added to the game folder. And then once it runs that game. So if you have like Body Slide or, Body Slide and CBBE and, all those kind of things, there will be those files added to the game folder itself. All the presets and stuff like that, and the slider outputs and stuff. So as you can see, as I've been talking, this game just doesn't load. Okay, I don't get an error message or anything. It just won't load for me. Now, if I start actually just clicking around, what's going to eventually happen is I'll probably get some sort of, and then that's what I'm doing. I'm just clicking certain buttons. I'm trying to get out, trying to say, without having to Control Alt Delete and close it out. But in this case here, I don't have to do that. But I did have to take and go down to the thing and close it. Now, I'm going to do one more thing real quick here. And this is just a simple test because we remember it did present me with 2 save files, right? And I said that it's pointing in the wrong direction for those save files, and when once we tried to open one of them, remember what it did? It came back and said, "You're opening them, but you're like." So if I say continue, it's trying to continue with this one, and then it tells you there's a whole gambit of stuff that's not going to load because it's not there. It's not present anymore. Well, because this save file was created under a completely different Wabbajack list, and obviously it was either placed in the save folders in my documents in that main folder that everything usually goes to, and that list didn't create its own separate profile elsewhere and then save them there. It just saved it directly to that. So if I hit this to see if it's going to load for me, then that tells me one thing. It's trying to load this. We might sit here and spin out, and then I won't make you sit through the whole thing. And then so what I'll do is, boom. Now, and as you can see, it did load, but look at what we got. Look at, the lighting is poor, and this is one of the things that was a problem with the other list. The other thing we can see here is, look at, you can see the outfit, and so the outfit is showing the body, and then you can see the discoloration there, and basically that's the underwear that's all warped and put out of place. So the body slide files are not set up properly. Nothing is really set up properly. The lighting is non-existent, right? And if you look at the distance, nothing is. You got these white images in the distance, but you're not getting the actual the files that you should see. And it's understandable because, again, this save file was created under a completely different list and has all kinds of things that should have loaded, right? And more than likely, and we'll get out of here because I don't need to look at it. But more than likely, the list that it was created under probably had about 1,000 more mods, or 1,000 more mods, and probably 1,000 more plugins loaded than this one here. So this is the Horizon list, and again, what my point here is, everything from this point here on, and then I could have just created a separator and said my additions, but you can see I just decided I'm loading these. So if I decide, and if I come back and I just say, okay, well, let's not do that, right? Here's my clothing mods that I like, the classy chassis outfits, right? There's 4 different ones. Here's my lootable crates and lootable vault containers, and then the cheat terminal, right? So those are all the ones that I added. And then this is the normal list itself. You can see right there, only 20 active mods and 45 actual plugins, right? A lot of those plugins are what? Horizon. So that is what we should have been dealing with. And one of the things that I should have done is, once you have your list created, you want to check over here, right? Now, there's a couple of things, right? So you got the GOG and the Steam. So, some mod lists will have multiple profiles. Some will have an extra hard profile, one will have a light profile where it's not as into, many mods selected as anything. So when you change the profile, then what it will do is reselect the ones for that particular profile. You can see here launcher GOG, and then this one. So more than likely, if I switch to GOG, and we can do that, it won't really hurt anything. But now you can see my list is changed, and then these are down here now, and you can see the GOG are now up here and selected. And then even the number of plugins is different. Now, if I go back to Steam, so now here we are. We're back to the right list. You can see it only wanted these Creation Club stuff, so it doesn't even take all the Creation Club. I don't know if there's. When I look at that, I go, well, does it have as many as Skyrim does? And then so I trust it on what it's supposed to do. I will show you this as well. This is the folder itself, right? And you can see normally in some cases, and it will go up here and we'll look at, so Capital Commonwealth, you see there's a stock game folder. So what it does, it takes the necessary items from the normal game folder and it places them here. And anything that it does as far as data is concerned, so any kind of meshes, scripts, video, anything specific to this mod list are now placed in here. And then when it creates this virtual instance of the game based on this folder here, all those things will load, and it's not putting them in your main game folder. But here you can see there is no stock game folder. I thought I actually went in and created one manually and forced it to look at that one. When I say forced, you can go into the INI files and say, okay, here's where the folder is located. You can actually go into the settings and everything for mod organizer and actually point it to the folder that everything is. But I didn't. Apparently, I did not do that. So it is using, and it is pointing directly to my main game folder, which means any files that it uploads into there gets copied and pasted to that folder. Real quick here, let's look at Telsera. You can see Telsera, and I'm looking for anything that says game roots, or stock game, something like that, that tells me it's not directly writing to the game folder itself, the main one. And then you can see here's our downloads folder. This one, there's not many, there's just a few, and these were added here because one of the things that I did have to do is, and then that's what I'm about to show you guys in a minute, as part of the troubleshooting process. So one of the things that I would recommend doing is the first thing. So when you come in here, and if it's not working correctly, and we're going to try to load this without my mods. Okay. So we're going to try to load that one more time. I'll be right back. All right, so you can see we're still sitting here trying to get it to load or anything like that. So obviously we are having some issues with this. Now, I will tell you, for just so we are we're clear here. On my laptop, I downloaded the same mod list and have had no issue getting it to run or load. So it's not the mod list. Okay. In this case, it's more than likely the modder. I screwed something up, and then now I have to fix it. So get in here. You saw that one thing pop up real quick. It went away, but then it popped up, and that was that little menu that was like we were already in the game, but we weren't. Now we have to wait for this to unlock. So basically for it to register, oh, the game is stopped. And then one of the things I could just do this, just say, okay, I'm going to force it because the game isn't running anymore. So now we know that this isn't working very well either. Now, one of the things, like I said, so that doesn't work. We can do sort, and that will do loot. Sometimes, though, these games, if you go here, sometimes you'll see something where you can go in and sync the plugins. You see, that's not an option here. So that's not something we can do. That's something you could look at and see if your mod list has that, and so you can sync it. And then what it'll do is it'll reorder the plugins in the order that it was intended for this list, right? So not loot, but the order that it was intended, so the list would work. Here, we just can't get it to do anything. So I'm like, okay, so first things we got to do is we got to close that out. Yeah, Marno is waiting on application. Yep, exit now. See, it's still, because it never got that signal that Fallout was over, and just because we had to manually shut Fallout down. So this is, again, like I said, this is our folder, and real quick here, we'll move over and then I'll show you. Same with the Telsera folder, right? You see all these things, and then one of the things, reason why, and I pointed this out, you can see this isn't all the mods. Generally, as a house cleaning or housekeeping tip, once you've downloaded the list and it's up and it's running and it's working just fine, you can come in and just delete everything out of the downloads folder. That'll give you back, like in this case, this is 72 gigabytes of download. It was, right? So all the mods that were in there was 72 gigs. Some, if you have like a 200 gig download of mods, right? Going in here, that gives you that space back, right? So once you got it up and running, don't delete it until you got it running and it's working the way you want it. Then you can say, okay, we're good. And then what I had to do, and which is what I'm about to show you, reason these are here, and this is why I believe this is how it actually works, is we'll bring this over. So this is Wabbajack. This is what it looks like. And one of the things, you can make selections here. You say, okay, what do I want? Do I want non-featured? Because if you don't want non-featured, you can just deselect it. Whoops. If you don't want NSF to show up, NSFW to show up. So now there's 45, right? And then you can say, show only mod list for installed games. So it can see, right? Now there's 61. And then this list is going to include Dishonored, Dark Arisen, Enderall, New Vegas, No Man's Sky, Oblivion, Skyrim Special, Skyrim VR, Stardew Valley, and Starfield, right? So all these different games. Well, if you just wanted to show you only the games that you have installed, so these are the ones that I actually have installed on this computer. So there's only 5. And then if I wanted to limit the size, I could do that. I don't really recommend messing around with this, but basically it's from 0 gigabytes to 1 terabyte, right? And then if you want to include, you see that? Look at that. It adds 5 NSFWs, right? And you don't have to worry about anything because usually they're clearly marked. Clearly marked for you to tell you, hey, this is one of those, right? But then the key thing too is some of these are not available, right? So what are they? Just, And the main reason why they would not be available is someone's reworking the list. And that is what's happening, right? And so just expect it to come back. And then you have a whole gambit of mods there. And then we say non-featured, right? Now that list grows to 114, more than doubles, right? And then we can come back and say, okay, so Fallout, here's our list. And the beauty is it tells you right here, this is your download size, 79 gigs, 167. Only 6, Midnight Ride. Here, Sick Nasty Suite, 134. And as a matter of fact, I think Sandland, 271 gigabytes. Okay. This one is a pain to try to download. I haven't actually successfully gotten it to do that right yet. 115 for Wasteland Reborn. Horizon, again, it says it's a 5 gigabyte download. And roughly, once you got it downloaded and up and running, it only takes up about 6 gigabytes of space. Okay. Now, what I had to do for Telsera, and then what I'm going to do here is if we click in here, it actually gives you like all the files. So you can look and see what all it's going to download for you. And you can see the different sizes of the file. It has a README page. And a lot of times on the README page, this is where you look to see, hey, okay, what do I have to do to get it to work? Right? And a lot of times it'll give you, here's the Horizon Wiki, here's the Discord server in case you have any kind of questions, ask people if they're running into any issues with certain things. And then just there's a wealth of information here. And then also, if you look right here, this is who I can't even talk. These are the people that put together the list for you. And so one of the things I always recommend is go back, make sure you can just, it's not, you can open this in the browser, then you can actually star the page in your browser, and save it for later and you can just go look it up. So here's the archives. One of the things that I would do is once I looked and saw that everything in there is the way it is, I'd come back here and I'd say, okay, install. And then you got to make sure that's the right folder. E, Modlist, and then Horizon. Okay. Now, once we do this, it will delete any extra stuff that you put in there. So the extra mods that I put in there are going to be gone. It's going to kind of wipe clean anything that doesn't belong there. And then it's going to reacquire anything that's corrupted or not working okay for you. So we hit that. And then see, it's hashing the archives. And you can see it went through and it said, boom, right? I don't need to. And then you can click here and say, so it didn't have to re-download all 5 gigabytes. It might not have downloaded anything. I don't know. We'll find out. So then I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to go back to my folder here, maybe, if it responds. Give me a moment. You see it's not responding? Okay, there we go. So now it's back in the Horizon. Okay. And you can look. So apparently, boom. Okay. I don't know that I actually ever cleared this one out. So that'll tell us one thing. And then if I decide, all I gotta do is just come down here. Let's reopen this. As you can see, now that I go down to the bottom of my list here, the additional files that I originally added, they're all gone now. They've all been wiped. When I look over here, I instantly see that the load order is not in the same same order that it was right before I gave up and decided to come back here and fix it. Down here at the bottom was one of these CC files. I can't remember exactly one, but I did take note, and it was either this one or this one was down here at the bottom of the list. That's not the way it was supposed to be. One of the things that I do recommend that I don't do often enough myself, create a backup. Just create a backup, because that's a backup of the load order right there. So if anything goes awry, you can always do that. Now, one of the things that I was trying to point out, and I don't know that I did a good job of it, is if you're having issues with your list, come down and check here. So you check on the left to make sure all the necessary mods are selected, right? Check on the left, all the necessary ones. These you don't concern yourself with. It even says it's unused. And then we know that when we switch the profile to GOG, it switches these with the ones that are unused from Steam. Then you want to come over here and you want to ensure that you have all your main root stuff, right? And then your mods, and you want to make sure they're selected. Once we know that, click run. Because we're not touching anything right now. And then we can basically say, we can modify certain things. We can go into things and tweet it and stuff like that. This comes up and it's sitting there. And then what we want to hope is that it runs through, it does what it's supposed to do, and then let it just go. Now, we remember it went through and this is a blank slate, so it should just work. If it doesn't, then we know there's something wrong, and then we got to go in and tweak it and fix it and look at it a little bit more. On here, to the person that was asking me about their list, oh, you got to be kidding me. Bear with me 1 minute. So, as I was saying, to that person, what I would do is check over here. Now, mine is higher than what it's normally going to be for, like, say, Telsera. And that's because if you look down here at the bottom, right? So starting down here, I've added a ton of additional mods for mine. And then so over here, this is going to be slightly higher because it's going to include the plugins, the active plugins for the mods that I've added. But what you want to do is definitely come down here, basically open up every single one and just see that everything is selected properly. You also want to come up, look, and then you can see it says core files here. Now, it doesn't tell you or give you a list, but you can check over here. And then what you want to do is you want to come down. So you want to check on both sides. You want to check plugins, and you want to ensure the very first set, right? Usually you can see roughly all the way down to 79. They're grade, and these are all the creation club stuff, along with the actual Skyrim and the DLCs. So you want to make sure they're all selected, they're all here, and then as you come down, everything should be selected. Everything should be here. Right? And then same on this side, it's a little bit of a pain, but you got to go through, check everything, and make sure everything is selected properly. And once you do that, right, and it's still giving you an error about you're missing particular ones, That's when you want to really go in back to Wabbajack, have it re-download everything, and then from there, see if that doesn't fix it. The other thing too, right, is you want to come and just run it from here. Run it from here, and then when it opens, just follow along, right? Sometimes it's going to say we're going to discover your computer and all that, and set the proper settings. Also, when you get in there, if you have everything, and if it's missing the creation club content, then what it's going to do is it's going to hit you with that button to download everything. It doesn't matter that you bought it; you're going to have to download it all. And then you're going to have a little bit of a struggle at times because sometimes it will download everything properly. And then sometimes what it'll do is, so you can do one of two things. You can go ahead, do that, make sure it downloads everything. If it doesn't want to do the download, that means it has everything. The other thing you can do is you right click on here, go to properties, and then you want to check install files, and it say verify the integrity of the game files. And then it reacquires any files that it believes aren't there or corrupted. Now, I will say this, the problem with that is sometimes when it does that, and then I'm going to minimize this, we're going to come back here. There are two files that you constantly just annoy the crap out of you. And it's this one here. It's going to be 037 Curios, and then there's 038. Is it 038 or 036? No, this is 036. So there's a Curios, and it maybe the other one is a BSA file. So there's two Curios files, and let's see, we might have to just look at it directly. So hopefully this will work. Basically what we want to do, and again, we want to come back here, go to Steam Library, Steam Apps, Common, and then in Skyrim, and because this irks me to no end because it does it every single time. So I come down here, and okay, they're both 037, just one's a BSA, the other one's an ESL. Okay, so sometimes what it'll do is when you go in and you tell it to verify the integrity, it brings in the files and it updates them, but it makes it a capital C instead of a lowercase c. And you're like, are you freaking kidding me? And then if it does that, then you got to go back. You got to do the play thing, right? Because now when you play it and then it starts up, the first thing it's going to do is going to say, all right, you got to download the creation club content. And it's all of it. So it's all of them instead of it's not specific to just those two files that it screwed up during the integrity, verifying the integrity. No, it's all of them. And you're going to have to just sit and endure it. And then once that happens, then everything should be fine at that point. But again, that's what you have to contend with. But then you see right here, this is a meshes folder that I don't believe is normally there. So that's added. And then since Telsera is hitting directly up against the base game file here, whatever changes or things that are happening are a lot of times added and put to this file, whether it's supposed to be there or not. And you're like, God dang it. So those are the things I would look for. And like I said, I would start with making sure everything is selected here. And then the key is to make sure all these files are there. And all this is selected. And basically the issue is it's telling you don't have all the masters required for some of the files down here. So you want to make sure they're all selected, and then that you don't have anything that's sitting there that says that's unselected. And then again, if this all looks right and it's still giving you that, re-download. But again, you want to be aware that you have all this stuff. And if you don't, if you're missing anything, then you got to go through the whole Steam issue, verify the integrity of files, and then actually going in and starting it up once so that you can make sure you have all the creation content downloaded. It can be a pain, but eventually, as you keep doing it over and over again, you just kind of get used to it, and you do it. This was a much longer video than I intended from the start, but as you can see, I'm still trying to troubleshoot and work through issues with certain mod lists myself. And the key is you can have as many mod lists as you can hold on your disk drives, right? On your drives. The main thing you want to keep in mind and consider, though, is how the mod list is, how it works. And specifically, does it create a satellite folder of the game, right? And so that it doesn't actually ever touch the base game folder? Or is it actually touching the base game folder? And if so, then you start to see some conflicts and you start to see some issues come up. Horizon specifically, there's conflicts, issues, and now I have to go re-download Fallout 4 altogether. I have to delete it and re-download it, but that's also going to impact probably one or two other lists that are doing exactly the same thing. And then maybe I might put out a thing to show how to force it, how to say, okay, well, I'm going to create my own stock folder and force it to use that, as opposed to going against the base game folder. I prefer it when it uses its own stock game folder. So I'm not opposed to doing that. It's just that it is a little bit cumbersome and a bit of a chore. Okay, guys. I hope this helps. I hope I didn't get anybody even more confused than they were. And I'm sorry that it took so long. As you can see, we were having some issues. And one of the main issues that I was facing was that when we quit Fallout 4, it never quit. It was still running. When I brought this up, the first thing it showed me was that Fallout 4 was still running. So, and I didn't see that before, so I had to actually stop it in order to get Mod Organizer to actually work again. And then because there were an instance of Mod Organizer that was still in the background, still running, preventing other instances from actually opening and working. So you can see it can be a chore, and it can get very, very messy. So again, guys, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Okay. And then, like I said, I'll probably have a couple more videos that come out showing more tips and how I do things. And then I'm really starting to lean towards it, but I got to plan it out to show a video how to take a mod list that points directly to the game folder and make it move and point to a stock game folder instead. And I've done it. So I've done it before. I just can't remember which list it was. And so I just need to plan that out for you, because it is possible. Okay. And then here's the other thing. Look at this. So this, the default profile, sometimes there's multiple. So again, keep in mind, there's a lot of moving pieces here, and there's a lot of places where things could go wrong. So you have to be able to check them all. All right, guys. Until next time, peace.